Welcome to episode 118 of the Mighty Whites podcast. I am Jack, as always, joined by Casey.
Hello.
How's things, mate? All good?
Yeah, pretty good, thanks. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. A little bit of a rush getting set up because my 4-week-old daughter decided to shite everywhere very recently, so a bit of a rush to get sorted, but we're done now.
If you needed a form of contraception, that image will do it for you.
Yeah. Well, just my face will do it for you. There's no way of transitioning out of that because just like us to start with something weird. But I just want to mention this before we get into the podcast. Big get well soon to Phil Hay. Obviously, he's having was it yesterday it was announced, so he's had brain surgery today.
Yes.
He seemed in very good spirits about it from everything that he was putting on Twitter and the like. He's had a benign tumour. I'm sure everything will be fine, but a big get well soon to Phil Hay. I put it on Twitter the other day, but it is true. As much as he is a Hearts fan, he's as much a part of Leeds as anyone who isn't directly Leeds United themselves. Phil Hay is as much part of it. And there was a long time when you were following this club where you couldn't believe a word you were hearing from the club, and Phil Hay's word was more important than what Leeds United said.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it took us 1 year to ever adopt social media, but 2 under various owners and chairmen. It was more akin to propaganda what would come out of the club. So it's been a vital source of information. His article that he put out yesterday as well, just kind of explaining why he's going to be absent for a while, it was absolutely fantastic. Just explaining his time spent with Don Matteo and with Sol Bamba. Being honest as well, because it's someone who, while I can't ever say I know Phil, it's someone that has been, I have looked at his Twitter feed pretty much every day, for the, must be over a decade now.
Yeah.
So when you're reading something like that, it certainly hit me a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean with that. Obviously, I'm the same. I can't pretend that, I can't say I know Phil or I'm friends with him, but because it's not the case. But back in the day, I did do a little bit of work for the Yorkshire Evening Post. I have met him. I've spoken to him a few times since. He is just, in every experience I've ever had with him, he's a really, really nice bloke, as much as everything else. So I'm sure he'll be back soon. If I was him, I would not tweet at all for ages and then wait until Leeds score and just do a massive goal tweet. And then you're going to get a reaction like Stone Cold Steve Austin just came out. Massive pop, the entire fan base. So, yeah. Hopefully, I with something like this, even if it all goes swimmingly, I'm assuming it won't be massively quick. But yeah, I'm just hopefully everything's okay for him and his family, because he's such a young, he's older than us, but he's a young guy. The fact that it's benign, they're good medically now, and I always back doctors to be great. So I'm sure they'll be fine, and we'll look forward to his return.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was, that I wanted to say that first, just so I didn't forget, because it is important. And literally, other than a couple of weird accounts that are relics from the Chileno era, everyone loves Phil Hay, and everyone was pretty damn happy with Leeds 0, Scum 0.
Excellent results. Not an excellent bit of football to watch, but I think the positive spin you put it on that as a Leeds fan, where you compare as to where we were 4 or 5 months ago, and I don't know if it's the naivety that we've cut out or what it was, but the defensive unit at the moment just looks so much stronger, so much more well organised. So even though we didn't have a lot, going forward, the back four and Phillips looked absolutely fantastic. There we go, got those boxes ticked.
As you can tell by those, the people watching live, I've flashed a couple of graphics up on the screen because I wanted to bring that up. I think that for a neutral, this was a dull game. As for Leeds fans, not so much because you're invested and you care. So it's a 0-0 draw against a team that you hate. You know, you'll be on edge, you'll get the adrenaline going a bit, even though it wasn't much of a game. But for a neutral, I can see how it wasn't very good. The thing that I really took from it, even though we didn't offer loads in attack, like did we have a better chance than that Helder Costa one that got deflected over?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, like we really didn't create much. But the difference with this is it wasn't as if, even though we did get pushed back, we didn't sit back. This wasn't sit on the edge of your box and defend for your lives. We got pushed back. But just the balance of the side right now with Dallas in midfield, it's not like learning lessons and being defensive. It's just a better balance. And I am sure that in the summer, if Bielsa gets every player he wants, we'll go back to gung ho because that's what he believes in, and that's fine. But at the moment, this is the best way. And obviously, you mentioned the defensive stuff. Like I didn't give many people great score. I don't think I gave anyone further forward than Phillips much of a score in player ratings. I didn't give them bad ones either. They were like 5, 6, 6.5. But I thought Calvin Phillips, this was one of his best games in a Leeds shirt, I thought. And there's been a few now. It's not like the first time he's had a 9 out of 10 or better performance. But this one, I just thought, except for there was one good chance that he had. But for 75 minutes until Robin Koch came on and took over the job, he made Bruno Fernandes look very, very average.
Yeah, I'd almost describe this as, for Calvin Phillips, almost a coming-of-age performance in as much as we've all seen what Calvin Phillips can do, but this is Calvin Phillips doing it against one of the best players in the division, against one of the best teams in the division, and just doing it consistently well for the whole time. He was absolutely fantastic. I think that the joke that the commentators made was that the free kick Fernandes took from about the edge of the box was the furthest away Calvin Phillips had been from him all game.
Yeah. Well, I am sure that there was I think it was where George Best going for a piss at half time and getting someone to follow him in to mark him.
Yeah.
Like this was that. He was just all over him throughout the game, and just I thought it was brilliant. I thought Ayling and Alioski also did very well. Ayling slightly more so than Alioski, but I thought they were both very good. But above them, not very far behind Phillips, I thought both Diego Llorente and Pascal Struijk were absolutely immense.
Yes. It's probably getting a little bit repetitive for us now about how impressed we've been with Llorente and Struijk over the last, Llorente for probably the last 7-8 matches now. Struijk, obviously, when he's been coming in. Got to give a lot of credit to Alioski, because I think when you went into this run of these 3 games, he's immediately kind of the weak link in the side that, if you were just looking before kickoff. And across these 3 games, I've been very impressed with Alioski. I thought he had a great game against Man City. Did a very disciplined job, and then bombed forward whenever he could. I thought as Leeds got into the game against Liverpool, I thought Alioski became more and more of an attacking threat. And I think defensively, he showed a lot of quality against Man United. So I think he's got to get a lot of credit at the moment.
Yeah, he is definitely. Although, I still maintain that, if we want to progress and go forward, you need a better left back than that. He has definitely been better than his ability level fairly consistently recently. He's had a couple of iffy games, which he's always going to. But Alioski has definitely really improved. As I said, I think there's been a lot of talk actually today that I've seen on social media. People going, should we be giving him a new deal? And I think that what that's missing out a lot of is that we have offered him a new deal. It's just that we're not going to offer him a new deal that is you're going to play every week on a big wage. And elsewhere, he might get that. So like Leeds, I would definitely, offer him the deal, but you can't go mental because he's going to be a squad player.
Yeah. It's a tough one because, again, he's not someone that, certainly from a personality point of view, it's going to be sad when he goes, because we all love him.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where you also accept, and I think we've all spoken about it, it's just having a permanent left back who is a left back who does left back things.
Although left back things in the Bielsa side is quite often central midfield things.
Following someone over to the right hand side if needs be. But yeah, if he, again, I know we've had the discussion about him a lot, so we won't go into it again, but if he's getting the offers for first team football on decent money, like, you can't blame him for looking at that. But in my heart, I'd like to think there is part of him that's playing his way into Bielsa's thoughts for, maybe another season.
Yeah. Oh, well, he's definitely, I mean, I think he will be first choice until the end of the season now, barring injuries and stuff. Maybe he won't. Mind you, if he's probably off at the end of the season, he'll definitely play the last game of the season. Yeah. So we'll see. One thing that I did think from this game, because it was obviously quite cagey, a bit nervy, and it was very low on quality. Like, both teams, to an extent, there was a lot of poor passing and stuff like that, but both teams were doing it. Just like, really sloppy touches in midfield. So a Man United player would give the ball away and we'd have a chance to break and we'd give it straight back. There was a lot of that. And it wasn't helped by a referee that blew the whistle seemingly every 25 seconds. I thought this game was refereed horribly, actually. I think that we did get slightly the rough end of the decisions, like the little soft ones, Man United got them and we didn't. But it didn't come off to me as like a particularly, like, this cheat of a ref. It didn't come off like that to me. It just came off as, this is really poor refereeing. Just consistently through. And I think that resulted in a bad game. But I think this is probably the most a game that we've been involved in has missed having fans all season. Because I think if you've got that kind of bitty, sort of quite stressful, hanging on a bit at times to a draw sort of game, when it's Leeds v Man United, if you've got a crowd there, I think it actually becomes quite a good game to watch.
Yeah, and I think you add to, the crowd's going to be piling onto the referee making those decisions as time goes on. I think every time you see someone put in a bit of a last-ditch tackle, you're going to get the raw. Just seeing, you want that early tackle to go in and then just have you just short of 40,000 there shouting, "Fucking get into him!" Like that's what it missed. And the atmosphere would have added a lot to that occasion, because I think I don't know how good it would have been as a Leeds player, because I think there'd have been a lot of nervousness amongst the crowd for the amount of time Man United spent on the ball. But it would have added to that game, which was lacking a certain quality, shall we say?
Yeah, that was my main takeaway from it. I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was just the way that the game was played and whether both teams had a little bit of nervousness, but there was just something about. I don't think I've seen us have a game of such low quality, including ones where we've lost badly. Like actual on the ball quality. It looked like, in terms of first touch and stuff, it looked like an opening game of pre-season at times, where just the touch just isn't there. But I think it was just an aberration. I think it'll go. The other thing is that to talk about is we came into April with Sheffield United at home, Man City away, Liverpool at home, Man United at home, and we were saying, well, you need to beat Sheffield United, and then if you pick up a point, maybe two, you're absolutely delighted. And we've come out of that with 8 points and unbeaten.
Yeah.
It's pretty goddamn impressive. And Bielsa absolutely has to. I mean, manager of the month does not matter, but I'll be pissed off if he don't win it this month.
Yeah, it's when you put them all together, the Sheffield United game was a very dominant performance on our part. Man City was just a defensive masterclass in terms of just frustrating opposition. The Liverpool game turned into an excellent performance where we could have got 3 points from that as we grew into the game, and then this game again, which another in a completely different way, but another excellent defensive display. They've been four fantastic performances, and coming out of a run of games that at the start of the season you looked at where not that any of us saw Sheffield United being in this position now at the start of the season, but you look at that as a Yorkshire derby and then playing three teams who, before a ball's been kicked, you would all have contending for the title.
Mm.
There is part of you thinks we could, realistically come out of that run of games with no points. It wouldn't have been out of the ordinary if that had happened. But no, it's a credit to where we are at this point and how well we've progressed over the season.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to. I think it was a good sign that we competed well enough because we got a draw. But I think it says a lot about how far we've come when we got to sort of the end of this game, and when you went online, you saw a lot of people, and obviously I've said that the quality wasn't that high, so I can understand it. There was a lot of people disappointed, and after the 6-2. You wouldn't have thought that there'd have been people disappointed with a 0-0 in the return fixture.
I was elated once we'd gone the first 5 minutes without conceding.
Yeah, I think I tweeted after 3 minutes. Well, after 3 minutes, this is a much better start than last time. This is just one top of my head. Are Wolves the only team that's beat us twice, Ben?
That I can think of. Yeah, obviously
we were the better team in both of those games.
Yeah, and as you tweeted again the other week, I can't believe. Was it when they lost to Burnley? I can't believe these beat us twice.
Yeah, I still can't believe that we managed to lose to. But they were both basically on goals. Did you see anything of the 23s game?
I didn't get a chance to see that.
All right, well, I'll go for it quickly. 23s 1-1 draw at Fulham. It was quite a young side. Joe Gelhardt is injured or unavailable. I don't know, but I wasn't on the bench against Man United, and then he didn't play in the 23s, so he's unavailable. So Sam Greenwood moved back up front. Took him 3 minutes to score. Put us 1-0 up against Fulham. We were massively, massively dominant in the first half. Should have been ahead by a lot more. Fulham did have one big chance early on. Nolan Kenny had a bit of a cock up, and Elliot Capriel made a really good double save. But we made 3 changes at half time, which made the team a lot less experienced. Like brought Max Dean up front for Sam Greenwood, brought Niall Huggins on for Crescencio Somerville, and pushed Liam McCarran up to left wing from left back, and brought Charlie Allen on at middle of midfield for Jamie Shackleton. So that's like just turned 17, Huggins 19, and Charlie Allen just turned 17. And in the second half, we were backs to the wall. Fulham did equalise just before half time, despite it being a dominant performance. Just header from a corner, no chance for a keeper.
Conceded from a set piece, did we?
Yeah, well, we haven't done that very much lately. I know it's hard to believe, but we haven't been mad on that front. But yeah, it was a good game first half. Second half, we were backs to the wall, and then Max Dean, like Niall Huggins, did a really good run, beat a man, and played Max Dean clean through in stoppage time. It was a decent save from keeper, but it's one where if you're a striker, you think I should have scored that. But it was a decent game, and obviously we've already won league, so it's good to get some youngsters in. The two that really stood out. Obviously, he made a big save at start of the game, but second half, Elia Capriel was really good in goal. It's one of the best goalkeeping performances I've seen him have. He was really good on all fronts, made some really good saves, claimed crosses fairly well. His quick distribution was very good. Him and Ollie Casey who I'm getting that there was no Cresswell either, come to think of it, because it was Casey and Nolan Kenny at the back with Jenkins in front of them. And they were Ollie Casey had a really good game. He stood out a mile. It's almost as if once Cresswell isn't there, he gets to take over all the bringing the ball out, playing long diagonal passes role that Cresswell plays. So it really helps him. But they both looked really good in this game.
It's good to hear with Casey because obviously, if you don't watch the 23s, your exposure to him has been. Did he play in the Hull game in the League Cup, or was that just Cresswell?
I think that was just Cresswell. Casey, I mean, I think Ollie Casey's come on. He may have played as well, but I remember that Ollie Casey came on at holding mid. Was that away at Huddersfield when we won 2-0 when Alioski scored that volley?
It might have been actually, yeah.
Yeah, and he's had a couple of them, but yeah, he also really good in this.
Because obviously the other one is the FA Cup game from this season when he came on, and that's not what you want to be thinking of Ollie Casey from that game.
No, I'm just going to check his cap limit. Yeah, he did. He didn't play against Hull because the whole game the centre back pairing was Charlie Cresswell and Leif Davis. Oh no, I'm wrong. Sorry, I'm looking at the BBC and I didn't see Casey because he did play DM, but the BBC has Bogarts at DM, so I didn't scroll down that far because it's got Casey in the click roll, which will not have been right.
Yeah. I think for him, and obviously it's tough to tell in the circumstances in which he's been given first team football. They're not the best appearances I've seen between that and it was Fleetwood in the FA Cup, wasn't it? I always get them mixed up with Crawley. No, it was Crawley in the FA Cup.
Crawley.
I always get them too.
With that twat from Only Way is Essex on it.
So it's encouraging when you actually see him playing in the 23s at what is probably his level at the moment and looking accomplished. And hopefully, he's probably one of those I'd look at and say a loan spell is probably what he needs sooner rather than later. Yeah,
for what it's worth, it was just. As with anyone in the 23s, I hope they become brilliant and play every week and end up being £80 million footballers. But it's not going to happen for all of them. If I was picking, I think that of Cresswell and Casey, I think Cresswell's the better one. I think Casey will have a solid career, and I think he'll be sort of League One, lower Championship. I think he's a good footballer, but I don't think he's quite going to step up enough. But I'd send him out on loan and see how he handles it first.
If he handles it anything like Alfie McCalmont has handled loan football, he'll be all right. He'll do okay for himself.
Yeah, well, we were actually on about this on the in the group chat for Through It All Together, which we all write for at THIU it's all LUFC. How Bielsa, generally speaking, the ones he ships out on loan are the ones he doesn't think are going to do it. And obviously, several of them have done, like Robbie Gotts is doing quite well as well. But if you would think if one of them's going to change their mind and get a look in, you'd think it's McCalmont.
I mean, it's you've got to try and look past his goals as well, but he does score some fantastic goals.
Yeah.
But by all accounts, he's having a very good loan spell at Oldham.
Yeah, it's not just for screamers. By the sounds of it, he's just playing really, really well.
Yeah. In my head, Robbie Gotts is going to come back and run that right-hand side, really.
Yeah, because England right back Robbie Gotts.
Yeah. That's how I make him anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of international football, Leeds have been linked with a Georgian international. Good luck me. From Rubin Kazan, either-footed, quick, skillful, tricky winger. Looks like he really likes a shot as well. One of those who YouTube highlights make him look great. And all of the data people on Twitter who obviously look into it far more than me, all of them have him flashing up as being a really good signing.
Isn't he also really tall?
If he is, I haven't really noticed that. It's very possible. It's just for a winger. Yeah, it says 1 meter 83, so like 6 foot. But Kvishva Kvaratskhelia ish.
Sounds delicious.
Those of you watching live, which obviously will not be many of you, but it's on the screen.
Give me a second. I mean, it's Sheila, and that's what we're going to have to cut, or Shkila.
Yeah, Kvaratskhelia, Kvitcha Kvaratskhelia, something like that. But
let's just go with Kvitcha.
Yeah, Kvitcha Kvaratskhelia Kazan. Oh dear.
Oh my.
The crusty comedy classic. 8 caps and 3 goals for Georgia. He appears, as I said, this is one of them. I don't know much about him. Based on what I've read, seems like fun. And I still aren't sure whether he's right or left-footed because he appears to be very two-footed. But because he isn't purely left-footed, that makes me think Victor Otto won't want him. He's very heavily linked with AC Milan, Dortmund, and Juve. I've read a couple of things saying Juve are in pole position to get him. But we'll see. I mean, have you got anything much to say other than he's got a complicated name?
I am going to assume that he will become the modern-day Georgi Gakokidze.
Only a true FM person thinks of Georgi Gakokidze.
I mean, obviously, he's got a long way to go to reach the standards of Georgi Kinkladze, but he's next level.
Formerly at Leeds United, Georgi Kinkladze. Not formerly of Leeds United. Formerly at Leeds United. I was very distinct in the way I phrased that. It's a shit. Obviously, there's always those list of players you missed out on, and you hear, what, we had Georgi Kinkladze on trial and didn't sign him. Yeah, but we had him on trial when he was like 35.
Yeah, this was after he made his comeback to Derby.
This isn't like in the early 90s when didn't we have Littmanen and Sammy Herpier on trial?
So, yeah,
and they didn't do, which is a bit annoying. But I'm just basically I don't want us to sign him because I don't want to hear my dad try and pronounce this.
I'm just waiting for your dad to be like, bloody Belarusian lad. He's Georgian.
Yeah, same thing. Although apparently,
listen, in 10, 15 years' time, when your dad's trying to describe him to you and he's giving you all this false information about him.
Yeah, just to confuse matters for what it's worth, his dad was an Azerbaijan international.
Ooh.
Just to confuse matters.
All the glamorous nations now.
By the way, I might as well say, because the reason that Casey is saying, when he's giving you a clue and it's a completely incorrect clue. Basically, my dad once had me thinking for about an hour and a half because he couldn't remember the name of this player that used to play for Leeds. And the only clues that he could remind me of were played for Leeds, striker, England international, and black. So I went through, obviously, I went straight to Michael Ricketts, but no. And by the end of it, I'd gone through nearly every striker that we'd had in the past 25 years, even ignoring all those clues. And he still couldn't remember. And the person he was thinking of was Adi Akinbaye, who never played for England or Leeds United for that matter. So...
At least he was black.
Yeah. Obviously, former and whenever he wants to be back on. When he wants to be back on, for saying, yeah, my dad trying to adapt this guy's name. Well, we'll move on to Saturday, a game which I'm sure everyone else out there knows, but I'd forgot. This game's on Amazon Prime. So
yes, thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, this game's on Amazon Prime, but it's other places on the internet. For the many of you that won't have it,
if it's like any other football game, just wait until it's just finished, and it'll probably be on Pornhub.
I'm unaware of this, but I believe you.
Well, it'll be one of those things where it'll be given a really crude title, but
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Oh
something.
no, I don't. No, I don't want it. I don't want to know what the titles will be because you know what the internet's like, and it's Brighton. It's not right, but that's what'll happen.
Yeah, I'm formulating some titles in my head, but I definitely can't say them.
Yeah, but yeah, Brighton away, Saturday 3:00. We got beat 1-0 in the match at Ellen Road, but I basically don't count that because Kiko Casilla was in goal. And I don't remember if the goal. I don't remember the goal at all. I'm fairly sure it was Mopai, but I don't remember. I'm just going to say it was Kiko's fault.
I don't want to say I'm defending Kiko Casilla because I'm quite happy with what our Twitter following is at the moment. I do remember this, and I have to say, none of what happened was actually his fault.
Oh, shame.
Despite the fact we were all very willing to blame him before the game had even started, we had all settled on, well, if we lose this, it's his fault. If I remember rightly, Mopai ended up with a tap-in at the back post, and Luke Ayling was about 10 yards away from where he probably should have been.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that goal now. Yeah.
This was when the man marking had ever so slightly broken down somewhere.
Well, I've just got the lineup up now, actually. It's fair to say we were a little bit makeshift at the back because we're Casilla in goal, Dallas right back, Alioski left back, Ayling and Cooper, and Straukers holding mid. And Strauk, obviously, Strauk is fine at holding mid, but he's not Calvin Phillips. And his protection can't have been much because it was Rodrigo and Click as the central midfield pairing, which was our peak thing of going, they're both good players. Playing them both together does not work. And we went through that a lot. So I don't think we can read too much into that game, really. Looking back at it, they haven't changed a great deal in terms of the way they play. They still play a sort of 3-4-2-1/3-4-3 because they don't really play wingers in front of the wing backs. It's more like Alexis McAllister, Lallana, or Trossard. So they kind of play centrally. But because they play three at the back and they're playing that system, we will sort of end up in a 4-4-2, you'd think?
Yeah, so most likely, because I'm guessing from our team, it just moves to Tyler Roberts playing higher up the pitch.
You would think so. Him sort of dropping off the front with Bamford properly leading the line, trying to drag one of their three centre-backs out. Because I don't know which three they'll pick, but like Webster, Lewis Dunk and Ben White are all good.
Is Ben White suspended for this, or was he suspended for the last match? Because he got sent off in either his previous game or the game before that, or Brighton's previous game, I should say.
I think because it was a late second yellow, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Don't know. I think that was. I don't think that suspended him for this one. I think that suspended him for the. Although no, maybe I think you're probably right because I just got up the probable lineup on who scored, which is normally wrong, but they've got a back three listed as Veltman, Dunk, Webster.
What a law firm.
Yep. Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. So yeah, he may well be out in that case then. The way they play is always the same. They play decent football and can't finish. At what point? Like how? I sort of don't know what to think with Brighton because obviously XG isn't everything, but it is something, and they're like fifth in that table. At what point is it just bad finishing, and at what point is it statistical anomaly plus bad finishing?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a problem for them all season, hasn't it?
Just to say, Kieran's just messaged us saying Ben White is available, so it must have been the last game.
I just looked now. Actually, I didn't want to change my answer to a different question that you'd asked me, but yeah, they played Sheffield United a few days after that as well. So yeah, he should be back. No, in terms of their goal scoring though, I think it was when they played Man United at home, and this must have been fairly early on in the season. The amount of times Trossard seemed to hit the crossbar was outstanding.
Yeah, well, that was the most. It was I think it was 3-2, wasn't it, to Man United, and we got a penalty after the final whistle.
Yeah.
And Brighton had hammered them. I think they hit the woodwork like 4 times in that game. And they've had quite a few games like this where they've played really, really well and got nothing. For instance, I know that it sounds like a stretch, but genuinely, I think Spurs could do a lot worse than getting Graham Potter.
Yeah, it's the thing where they this summer for them that they can't look anywhere else other than a striker who's going to get them goals. I don't want to put. Obviously, I'm not someone who puts all my stock in XG. But when you look at the XG table as to where Brighton would be if they were taking their chances,
even taking the chances, if they were if they were slightly below average, they'd be above us. According to that. Now, it's not quite as simple as that, because obviously you get weird game state things. Brighton being 1-0 down with 30 minutes left and the other team sitting back. It's not the be all and end all, but they shouldn't be 17th. They are better than Newcastle.
Yeah, if you compare the two sides, Brighton actually play some quite nice football. I like the setup there, and obviously it's a style that's. It does depends on who your manager is. In Bielsa's eyes, forces us to change system to match them. They've got some brilliant players there. Just a goal scorer. That's all they need is a goal scorer. So what they need to do is look at some of Sheffield United strikers once that's get Ollie McBurney in, and he'll get them the solid 7 goals that they need.
Yeah. By the way, Villarreal have just gone 1-0 up against Arsenal in Europa League semi. I think the other thing that says a lot about them, this is 12th downwards in the league and goal difference. Wolves -13, Palace -20, Burnley -15, Southampton -18, Newcastle -18, Brighton -6, Fulham -18, West Brom -34, Sheffield United -38. They've had a lot of really narrow, unlucky defeats. This will not be an easy game, and also they're not safe yet. So even though we're a Bielsa team, I don't expect us to let up at all. They do have a lot more to play for than we do.
Is this going to be another day of watching Brighton players run down the middle for 30 yards for us?
We're not. I mean, don't get me wrong, it still happens. We're not as bad for that now. Now Stuart Dallas is in there, because he appears to be the one that's tasked with, right, leave him, everyone move up one and go to the ball. So that does appear to help a lot. But with them having 3 at the back, and if it is going to be White, Duncan, Webster, White and Webster particularly are good at bringing the ball out, especially Ben White. That's one of the things that I like.
Especially Adam Webster.
I haven't actually seen a great deal of the press conference today, so I don't know if he said out about Helder Costa after he went off following the German suplex from Wan-Bissaka.
No, the only bit I have seen is that it sounds like Rodrigo will be in the squad, but Rafinha's, is it a hematoma he's suffering with at the moment?
Yeah, he's had. Well, I mean, that's obviously not much was made of it outside of Leeds circles. But that Fernandinho tackle on him was definitely a red card. Because it wasn't, there's a difference between he's beat me, cynical pull of the shirt, and he's beat me, cynical boot him up in the air.
Yeah.
As much as Cooper was higher and his studs were showing, but one of those tackles was a deliberate high foul late after the ball that has injured someone. And Cooper's was basically a clearance where he caught him on the follow-through. And Cooper's is the red card and Fernandinho's is only a yellow. It was shite refereeing. But yeah, Rodrigo back, you would assume that it's going to be Dallas and Roberts. Well, I was going to say in the middle, but it'll actually probably end up being Dallas and Phillips in the middle with Rodrigo in front of them, with Roberts in front of them, because of the change in formation. But it'll be good to have him back on the bench because he's a good creative option. And I would like to see him get at least half an hour if we can. I don't know when the under-23s next play, because he'll probably then play the first half of that as well.
This sort of system is probably best suited to having Rodrigo come on as well, where he's going to be allowed, less defensive responsibility in terms of, I don't think he'll be expected to track back as far as he is when he's playing as more of a central midfielder.
Yeah, up against a back three, in theory. Now the problem is that I don't particularly rate. Well, no one does. Rodrigo's pressing isn't great either, so pressing the back three he won't be great at. But Bamford and Rodrigo versus a back three, in theory, I quite like.
Yeah.
We'll see. I dare say. I mean, I'm fairly sure. I'd be surprised if he don't get on at all. Either will be if we're in front, he might not, because the changes might be a little bit more sort of sensible than that in terms of defensive work. But if it's level or it's going badly, I would expect him to get on. They've got, obviously the finishing isn't great. That's the thing with them. Like Morpay is, as much as I don't like him as an arse, he's a good player, but his finishing's been nowhere near this season. Danny Welbeck is a good player. You can't rely on him to be fit, but he is a good player. Lallana, can't necessarily rely on him to be fit, but he's a good player. Pascal Gross, the same. That Jakob Moder that'll probably play left wing back, he looks good, what I've seen of him. Alexis McAllister, I think he's really good too. Like in terms of technical ability. They've got a lot of clever, good players. But the one that stands out for me is Yves Bissouma in middle of midfield. I think he looks really good. I don't think he'll be there next season, put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, this season, the player from their team that has really caught my eye has been Ben White.
Yeah, he looks decent. He looks like an all right footballer.
Yeah, I mentioned him earlier for the chance where he hit the crossbar. I've been kind of impressed with Trossard this season as another one who just loves cutting inside and just curling one towards the far post. Ideally, if he keeps hitting the crossbar into this game, that would be ideal. Yeah. But yeah, as I said, like I like the setup there. He's got them playing with a decent style. Going forward, they've got some creative players. Very good technically on the ball. And then if I were them, just get Eddie Nketiah in. That's the answer. You heard it here first.
You know what? I think he'll be available in the summer because they've managed to get Fowler in Balogun to sign a new deal because he was all but going to a Bundesliga club because he was sick of not getting a chance because he'd play in 23s for Arsenal every week and just like play 45 minutes and score 3 goals. Just he shouldn't have been playing that, but they wouldn't give him a chance. And if he's agreed to sign a new deal, I can only think that they've agreed that he's going to be promoted into first team. Which might mean Nketiah at the very least goes out on loan, but he might well be available.
I think there's a couple of players from the Arsenal team who will be looking to move on. I think someone like Reece Nelson. I think for him, it's probably about time for him to make a permanent move. So that I know this is really for us to talk about on this podcast, but there'll be a few interesting players in there. The English younger players in there. There's quite a few good players in there. Probably be worth taking a look at.
Yeah,
not just for Brighton, for us as well.
I don't think Brighton could talk if he's available. If it was available on loan, maybe they wouldn't be able to do him permanent. But if Brighton could get hold of Tammy Abraham,
I saw today that apparently Leicester the favourites to sign him this summer.
So Iheanacho, Abraham, Vardy. Fair folks, that's a good lineup of strikers, especially with Iheanacho now, who's turned into an absolute world beater. So I got distracted then because I just noticed that Villarreal's left back is Alfonso Pedraza.
Ah, go on, lad.
So he's now become a left back. So it turns out that when you're looking back at players we had in the Championship, he might actually be the one we need, which you wouldn't have seen coming.
What a strange time when we signed him on loan. Like him, did we get him and Mo Barrow at the same time?
I think so, yeah. Because I believe I think we had an option on Pedraza for like 12 million quid or something, and then we're like, oh, he doesn't look that good. He had that one. He scored that one goal at Birmingham, didn't he? 3-1 win.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of those that won based on Football Manager was very good. But I also think he just came into Leeds at completely the wrong time.
No, yeah, that's true. It wasn't the best moment. Will tomorrow? Today's Thursday, Jack. Will Saturday be a good moment for Leeds United?
Yes, I'm feeling very confident going into this one now off the back of this run of results, which I know in my Leeds United head should make me think there's something bad coming. We've done something good for a little while now, so something bad's coming. But no, I feel confident about this one as the team goes. Obviously, we're not quite full strength, but you're going to have everyone playing in their natural positions pretty much, at least, which is a step up on last time. Got a much better goalkeeper because Kiko let us down last time, obviously, as we recapped. So I'm gonna say 3-0 win.
That is confident. Brighton are not a bad side at all. They're at home and they've got a lot to play for. I'm going to say 1 apiece.
That's reasonable. Like you say, that they need to, at this point, while they shouldn't get dragged into a proper relegation scrap, they could do with getting another win or two quickly.
Yeah. I was tempted to go for a 4-2 defeat again because we keep getting good results when I do that. But no, I'll go 1 apiece. That will do us then for episode 118 at Mighty Whites Podcast. We're at mightywhitespodcast.com and at Mighty Whites Pod on Twitter. The stuff we write goes up on Through It All Together, which is at THRU It All LUFC on Twitter and throughitalltogether.sbnation.com. I don't know exactly when we'll be back, but one of the evenings next week. So that'll do us, I reckon. Help to add, Casey?
No, I think we're all good.
Cool. Well, I've been Jack. See you.
I've been Kate.